Fleet Command. This is Academy Station Epsilon. We have a Code Apex breach. Repeat, Code Apex breach. Commander Zillax's three-fingered hands trembled over the emergency console as his translator struggled to keep pace with his panicked clicks. 3 Korvath Cubs have escaped containment and are actively hunting in Cadet Barracks 7. Standard protocols are failing, tranquilizers ineffective, sonic deterrents ignored. Cadets are barricaded, but... He stopped, mandibles clicking in distress as screams echoed through his comm unit. By the void, they've breached another room. The situation was impossible. Korvath Cubs, juveniles of the galaxy's apex predator species, didn't just escape containment. They were visiting offspring of the Korvath Empress, here for a diplomatic cultural exchange. Now they were stalking through the station like it was a hunting ground. Their razor-sharp claws leaving gouges in titanium walls, their distinctive chittering calls sending every species' instinctive prey response into overdrive. Security team down, crackled through his comm. Repeat, security team down. Non-lethal measures completely ineffective. Cubs they're playing with our riot shields, Commander, playing. Zillax pulled up the security feeds, his compound eyes widening at the carnage. Not deaths, thankfully. Korvath Cubs didn't kill for food yet, only for practice. But 3 of his best security officers were being treated for deep lacerations. The Cubs had scattered cadet belongings across 2 corridors. Uniforms, datapads, personal effects, all dragged from lockers they'd torn open like gift wrap. Authorized lethal, he started. Negative. Fleet Command's response was immediate. Those Cubs are the Empress's offspring. You start an interstellar incident, Commander. Then what do I... The barracks door hissed open. Emma Johnson walked in, carrying a mop bucket and humming something discordant. The human janitor, 28 standard years old, brown hair pulled into a messy ponytail, wearing the station's maintenance coveralls, stepped directly into the crisis zone like she was arriving for her regular shift. Human! Zillax's voice cracked through every speaker. Evacuate immediately. Code Apex, evacuate. Emma pulled out an earbud, looking around with mild confusion. What's all the fuss about? I got a work order for Barracks 7. Apparently someone made a mess. Human. There are predators. He watched in absolute horror as all 3 Korvath Cubs emerged from the shadows behind her. Each stood as tall as Emma's waist, their obsidian scales gleaming, 6 legs moving in perfect predatory synchronization, eyes, all 6 of them per cub, locked on the human. Their dorsal ridges were raised, the juvenile equivalent of hackles, and their jaw mandibles clicked in that specific rhythm that preceded a pounce. Emma turned, saw them, and blinked. Oh, hey there. You guys made this mess? Human, do not move. Zillax was already calling for the rapid response team, even though he knew they'd arrived too late. Those are Korvath Cubs, Galaxy's most dangerous juvenile predators. They've already injured. Uh-huh. Emma seemed entirely unimpressed. She was looking at the scattered belongings, then back at the Cubs circling her, their movements precise and coordinated. Pack hunting behavior. Did you 3 steal all this stuff? The Cubs continued their circle, tightening it. Emma Johnson was seconds from becoming the first human casualty in Academy history. Then Emma noticed something. A cadet's dress uniform draped over the lead Cub's dorsal ridge like a trophy. She straightened up, put one hand on her hip, and cleared her throat with the kind of sharp, disapproving sound that could cut through a crowded room. Ahem. All 3 Korvath Cubs froze mid-stalk, not hesitated, not paused. Froze, their 6 legs locked in position, their mandibles stopped clicking. All 18 eyes swiveled to stare at Emma Johnson, who was now giving them the look. a very specific expression that Zilax had no cultural context for, but somehow felt in his genetic memory as deeply, profoundly significant. "Did you," Emma said slowly, her voice carrying that certain tone, "steal from these cadets?" Fleet Command was screaming questions through Zilax's comm. The security feeds showed responding teams stopping dead in confusion. And 3 apex predator cubs, offspring of the most fearsome species in known space, stood absolutely still under the disappointed gaze of a human janitor holding a mop. One cub's tail drooped slightly. "Yeah," Emma said, crossing her arms. "That's what I thought." "This is impossible." Zilax breathed into his comm, unable to look away from the security feed. "Fleet Command, the Korvath cubs have stopped moving. The human just..." She made a sound and they... "Commander, Korvath cubs don't respond to deterrence." Fleet Command interrupted, their voice tight with confusion. "We have 300 years of xenobiological data. They don't freeze. They don't hesitate. They're apex predators from hatching. What did she do?" She cleared her throat at them. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. "Get me every predator specialist in this sector," Fleet Command finally ordered. "And someone explain to me why that human is still alive." Through the security feed, Zilax watched Emma Johnson crouch down to the Cubs level, which every single protocol manual explicitly forbade. "Look," she said in her normal speaking voice, not using any of the approved predator interaction tonal frequencies. "I don't know what you guys are, but I know naughty behavior when I see it." She pointed at the scattered belongings. "That's stealing. You know you're not supposed to take other people's stuff, right?" The lead cub tilted its head, all 6 eyes blinking in sequence. It made a soft chirping sound that the translator couldn't process. "Is she..." Zilax's mandibles went slack. "Is she scolding them?" "Commander, Dr. Vexia is online," his communications officer announced. "Xenopredator specialist from the Galactic Institute." Dr. Vexia's image materialized, her scaled face creased with concern. "Commander, I've reviewed your footage. This is unprecedented. Korvath cubs have a neurological compulsion to complete stalking behavior once initiated. They literally cannot stop mid-hunt. It's biologically..." "Doctor, they've been standing still for 47 seconds. That's not possible." Emma straightened up, using what Zilax could only describe as a mom voice, firmer, with an edge of disappointment that somehow made him feel guilty from 3 decks away. "I'm going to give you 3 a choice. You can return what you took, or you can sit here while I call your parents. What's it going to be?" One of the cubs, the smallest one, lowered its dorsal ridge and made a whimpering sound. "Did that cub just express remorse?" Dr. Vexia whispered. The door hissed open, and Master Predator Handler Genix stormed in, all 9 feet of scaled muscle and certified expertise. He'd handled everything from Tyrillian Deathstalkers to Vex Prime Hunters. His methods were rated 99.8% effective across 47 documented predator species. "Stand aside. Human," he bellowed, activating his dominance display, throat sac inflating, spinal ridge extending, releasing pheromones that should trigger submission responses in any predator species. "I am the Alpha. You will submit." The cubs turned to look at him briefly, then went back to staring at Emma. Genix tried again, louder, adding aggressive posturing and his most intimidating roar. The cubs remained completely focused on Emma, who was shaking her head. "Yeah, that's not going to work," Emma said, still watching the cubs. "This is basic behavior management. You can't just yell at them and expect, hey. She snapped her fingers as one cub started to inch toward a stolen data pad. I see you. Don't even think about it. The cub froze again, looking somehow guilty. Ginix's dominance display deflated. How are you doing that? Doing what? Emma asked, genuinely confused. They're just being naughty, probably bored or wanting attention. Naughty? Ginix's voice cracked. These are apex predators. They don't experience naughty. The command deck doors opened with an emergency override. Vice Admiral Kyldra strode in, her forearms crossed in the Telvarian gesture of extreme displeasure. Her image appeared simultaneously on the main view screen, towering over the barracks scene. Commander Zillax, I am authorizing lethal force protocols, she announced, her voice carrying the weight of absolute command. We cannot risk the human's life or an interstellar incident. Prepare to... Excuse me? Emma's voice cut through the channel. She'd apparently found the comm panel. Hi, yeah, Admiral, whoever you are. Before you start shooting, did anyone try just asking these guys to give the stuff back? The entire command deck went silent. Every officer, every specialist, every expert on 3 open channels. I'm sorry, Kyldra said slowly. Did you just suggest we ask the predators? Yeah? Emma looked genuinely baffled by their reaction. I mean, they're clearly smart. They're listening. Have you tried basic communication, or did everyone just jump straight to the violence thing? Zillax watched his superior officer, veteran of 17 campaigns, holder of the Diamond Star of Valor, commander of 3 fleets, struggle to form words. The human, Kyldra finally said, just questioned our entire crisis response protocol. And she's not dead yet, Dr. Vexia added quietly, which according to every model we have, she absolutely should be. Emma turned back to the cubs, hands on her hips. Okay, boys, last chance. Are we doing this the easy way or the hard way? The lead cub's tail drooped further. Admiral, I'm patching in xenobiologist Janitor from the Core Worlds Institute, Zillax's communications officer announced. He literally wrote the definitive text on Korvath neurobiology. Jataro's hologram flickered to life, an elderly saurian whose scales had faded to pale silver with age. I've been observing your feeds. Admiral Kyldra, Commander, what you're witnessing violates 40 years of my research. His voice carried the weight of academic authority. Korvath neural structures are fundamentally incompatible with social compliance behaviors. Their brain architecture, specifically the predatory cortex, prevents the formation of submission responses outside their immediate family unit. They cannot respond to discipline from non-Korvath entities. It's neurologically impossible. Uh-huh. Emma's voice came through the comm, utterly unimpressed. Then why are they playing together? Because that looks pretty social to me. Jataro blinked all 3 of his eyes. What? They're working as a team, right? Coordinating? That's social behavior. Emma gestured at the cubs, who had now settled into sitting positions, all 18 eyes tracking her every movement. And they're clearly listening to me, so someone's got their wires crossed about this no compliance thing. Young woman, I have spent 4 decades studying. Yeah, and I've spent 5 years watching every species on this station act like kids when they're bored. Emma crouched down again, meeting the cubs at eye level. Look, they're not hunting. They're playing, testing boundaries. It's what youngsters do. Human kids, puppies, kittens, probably these guys too. Puppies, kittens. Kyldra's voice held dangerous confusion. What are those? Earth predators, Dr. Vexia supplied quietly. Domesticated ones. She's comparing apex predator cubs to pets. Because they're acting like pets, Emma insisted. Bored ones who need clear boundaries and consistent discipline. She looked back at the cubs. Without the dominance stuff. She added pointedly at Ginix, who was still standing there with his deflated throat sac. That just makes them defensive. Discipline without dominance? Jataro's confusion was palpable. That's contradictory. How do you establish behavioral compliance without hierarchy? By building a relationship? By being consistent? Okay, watch. Emma stood and pointed to a spot on the floor. You three, sit there, right there, and think about what you did. The cubs looked at each other, actually exchanged glances in a way that suggested communication, then shuffled over to the indicated spot and sat down. Every alarm in Zilax's mind was screaming. She just put apex predators in timeout. That's not a recognized containment protocol, Kaeldra snapped. It's working better than your protocols, Emma shot back. She folded her arms and watched the cubs, who were now sitting in a neat row, dorsal ridges lowered, looking for all the galaxy like chastised children. See? They know they messed up. They just needed someone to actually address the behavior instead of treating them like mindless killing machines. But they are killing machines, Ginix protested. Their instinct is to hunt, to stalk, to play, Emma interrupted. To explore, to test limits. Yeah, I got that. You know what happens when you treat kids, any kids, like they're just violence waiting to happen? They act out more. She shook her head. Has anyone on this entire station tried just talking to them calmly? The silence stretched across 3 communication channels. The human just invalidated our entire xenopredator theory, Dr. Vexia whispered. Commander, Kaeldra's voice was tight. What is our current containment status? All standard methods exhausted, Admiral. Tranquilizers failed. Sonic deterrence failed. Physical barriers breached. He checked his console. Lethal force authorization queued for your approval. It's the only remaining option in the protocols. Except asking nicely. Apparently, Emma muttered, loudly enough for the comms to catch. Kaeldra's 4 hands clenched. Commander, are you aware that those cubs are the offspring of Empress Sharkoth herself? That if any harm comes to them, we're looking at a diplomatic incident that could destabilize 3 sectors? That the Korvath Empire has treaty obligations with 17 allied systems who would be obligated to respond to any... Ma'am, I'm aware we're 1 dead cub away from a war, Zilax said quietly. And right now, Kaeldra continued, her voice dropping to something approaching awe. The only thing standing between us and that war is a human janitor who doesn't understand why we're panicking. Emma had moved closer to the sitting cubs, her voice softening. Okay, guys. Real talk. Are you going to give those things back or not? Because I really don't want to get your mom involved. The lead cub made a sound, a low, warbling whine that made every translator unit in the command center glitch out simultaneously. Was that... Jataro leaned toward his screen, scales flushing with shock. That vocalization isn't in any Korvath linguistic database. I've never heard a Korvath make that sound. It sounded like whining, Emma said, like when a kid knows they're in trouble. She stood up. Come on. Let's go return everything. And then maybe we can figure out some activities so you're not stealing stuff out of boredom. One of the cubs stood, picked up a cadet's uniform in its mandibles, and walked over to place it carefully at Emma's feet. Good boy. Emma's entire demeanor changed, bright, encouraging, warm. See? That's what I'm talking about. That's how we do it. The other two cubs immediately scrambled to grab stolen items. Fleet Command, Zilak said into his comm, his voice hollow. You need to see this. The apex predators they're returning the items, voluntarily, because the human praised one of them. Impossible, Jotaro breathed. Yeah, you keep using that word, Emma said cheerfully, watching the cubs gather belongings. I don't think it means what you think it means. Emma extended her hand toward the lead cub, palm down, fingers relaxed, moving slowly and deliberately. No. The scream came from at least 6 different sources simultaneously across the command channel. Human, don't. Zilax gripped his console so hard his chitin cracked. That gesture, a hand approaching a Korvath sensory cluster, was the equivalent of presenting a throat to a predator. Every instinct the cubs had should trigger an immediate bite response. He'd seen adult Korvath take off limbs for less threatening approaches. The lead cub leaned forward, nostrils flaring as it sniffed Emma's hand carefully. Its mandibles opened slightly, razor-sharp inner teeth visible. Then it pressed its scaled snout into her palm and nuzzled her hand like it was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Zilax's vision blurred. His legs gave out. He had to grab the console to stay upright. Did that just... Kaeldra's voice had lost all command authority, replaced by pure disbelief. Did a Korvath cub just nuzzle her? Emma smiled, genuinely, warmly, and began scratching behind the cub's dorsal ridge with her other hand, right at the base where the scales met the spine. The cub's eyes half closed, and it made a rumbling sound that the translators interpreted as contentment. There we go, Emma said softly. You're not so scary, are you? Just needed someone to pay attention. She looked at the other two cubs. Come on, you two. Bring the rest back and you can get scratches too. The second cub practically leaped forward with a cadet's datapad, dropping it at Emma's feet and looking up expectantly. Good boy. Emma's voice was bright with genuine praise. That's perfect. Thank you. She scratched that cub's ridge too. The third cub, not to be outdone, ran off and returned, dragging an entire duffel bag of belongings. Look at you. What a helper, Emma praised, giving the third cub equal attention. All science teams, are you recording this? Kaeldra demanded. Recording everything, Admiral, came a shaky reply. Though I don't believe what I'm seeing. This shouldn't be possible, Jotaro was muttering, his hologram flickering as he gestured frantically at his own screens. We've documented Korvath behavior for centuries. They don't form bonds with non-Korvath. They don't respond to positive reinforcement. They don't exhibit pack loyalty outside genetic lines. This human is doing everything wrong, and it's working perfectly. Maybe, Emma said, apparently hearing him through the open comm while she continued petting the cubs. Your documentation missed something? Like, I don't know, treating them like thinking, feeling beings instead of murder machines? The cubs were now taking turns bringing items back, each one clearly seeking Emma's approval and the coveted ridge scratches. They moved around her without any hunting behavior, their body language relaxed and playful. She's not using dominance, Dr. Vexia said quietly. She's using relationship building, trust-based interaction. We don't have protocols for this because we never thought it was possible with apex species. The human, Kaeldra said slowly, just bonded with 3 Korvath cubs in under 10 minutes. Bonded. The kind of attachment that takes our trained handlers months to establish with lesser predators. Emma stood up, brushing off her coveralls. "Okay, guys, let's get you back home. Where are you supposed to be?" She started walking toward the corridor, and all three cubs immediately fell in line behind her, following like devoted puppies. They're following her. Zilax breathed, voluntarily. "Commander, redirect her to the diplomatic containment suite on Deck 9, Kaeldra ordered. "That's where they escaped from." "Emma." Zilax managed to get his voice working. "Go left at the next junction. The Cubs' quarters are on Deck 9. "Got it," Emma called back cheerfully. "Come on, boys. Let's get you home." The security feeds tracked her progress through the station. Not once did the Cubs resist. Not once did they try to break away or attack. They simply followed Emma Johnson, 30-year-old human janitor, like she was their mother. A specialized retrieval team would have taken 3 hours minimum, Ginnick said hollowly. With multiple casualties expected, she did it in 12 minutes with positive reinforcement. The doors to the diplomatic suite opened. Emma walked in, the Cubs trailing behind her. "This your room? Nice digs." She pointed to the cushioned nesting area. "Go on, settle in." The Cubs looked at her, then at the nesting area, then shuffled over and curled up together, still watching her. "I'll check on you later," Emma promised, "and we'll figure out some toys or something so you're not so bored, okay?" The lead cub chirped, that same sound the translators couldn't process, and laid its head down. The diplomatic suite doors were sealing when proximity alarms blared across the station. Empress Sharkoth's ship just dropped out of hyperspace. The sensor officer reported, voice tight with dread. "She's demanding immediate docking clearance and, Commander, her weapons are hot." Zilax closed his eyes. The Empress had come for her cubs, expecting the worst. Kaeldra's image reappeared. "All hands, diplomatic crisis protocols. Commander Zilax, I'm on my way to you. We need to, Admiral." Zilax pulled up the diplomatic suite feed. "Look." Emma was sitting on the floor with all three cubs. They were playing some kind of gentle chase game, cubs pretending to stalk her fingers while she laughed and moved them around. It looked like someone playing with kittens, whatever those were. When Empress Sharkoth stormed into the diplomatic suite 3 minutes later, all 12 feet of apex predator fury, battle armor gleaming, guards flanking her, she found her three cubs tumbling over each other, trying to get Emma to scratch them all simultaneously. The Empress stopped mid-stride. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. "Oh, hi." Emma looked up, noticing the massive Korvath for the first time. "Are you their mom? They're wonderful. Just needed some boundaries and attention." They were getting into trouble because they were bored. The Empress stared at Emma, then at her cubs, who were clearly healthy, happy, and completely unbothered. Then back at Emma. "You." The Empress's translator struggled with her tone. "You disciplined my offspring?" "Well, yeah. They stole a bunch of stuff." Emma stood up, brushing scales off her coveralls. "But we talked about it. They returned everything. And I think we're good now. Right, guys?" All three cubs chirped in unison. The Empress slowly turned to look at the camera feed where she knew Station Command was watching. Her expression was impossible to read. "Fleet Command requests a full report on your methods, Emma Johnson." Kaeldra's voice came through formally. "Your techniques will need to be documented, analyzed, and possibly classified." Emma laughed. "Classified? It's literally just common sense. Be consistent, set clear boundaries, use positive reinforcement, build trust." She shrugged. "This is just basic stuff." "Basic? Jotaro repeated faintly. She calls overturning our entire understanding of apex predator psychology basic. Emma pulled out her datapad and started typing. Anyway, I need to file my incident report. Let's see. Responded to mess in Barracks 7. Cubs had scattered belongings due to boredom. Redirected behavior through boundary setting and positive reinforcement. Returned Cubs to quarters. Recommend environmental enrichment activities. That about cover it? The human, Empress Sharkoth said slowly, watching her cubs vie for Emma's attention. Just wrote a diplomatic incident as a janitorial complaint. Is that not correct? Emma asked, genuinely confused. 3 days later, Commander Zilax stood in Admiral Kaeldra's office reviewing the new protocols scrolling across his datapad. Human consultation requirement now appeared in 17 different sections of the Academy's Emergency Response Manual. Every predator incident, every behavioral crisis, every unexplained animal response. Humans must be consulted before escalation to lethal force. Kaeldra explained, her forearms gesturing at the holographic policy documents floating around her office. Fleet Command is distributing this across all stations. And the human herself? We offered Emma Johnson the position of interspecies behavioral consultant. Significant pay increase, private quarters, research staff. She declined. Said she likes mopping floors. Less paperwork. Kaeldra's mandibles clicked with something that might have been amusement. She's back on her regular maintenance rotation as of yesterday. Zilax pulled up the security feeds on his datapad, finding Emma in Corridor 12B, humming that same discordant tune while pushing her mop bucket. The bucket now had a container labeled Treats, Various Species, bungee corded to the side. As he watched, all 3 Korvath cubs came bounding around the corner, apparently having escaped their quarters again, and skidded to a halt in front of Emma. There you are. Emma set down her mop and reached into the treat container. Your mom said these are okay for you. She tossed each cub something that looked like crystallized protein. They caught them mid-air and chirped happily. She keeps treats for them, Zilax said weakly. She has the weirdest workplace pets in the galaxy, Kaeldra replied, and somehow it's completely normal for her. A notification flashed across Zilax's datapad. Admiral, the Galactic Council has called an emergency session. Topic: Human Capabilities and Apex Predator Interaction Protocols. Let me guess, they're debating whether humans are apex predators? Among other theories, there's a proposal to classify all human behavioral techniques, another to mandate human presence on all ships carrying dangerous species, and he scrolled further. Someone's arguing humans should be restricted from predator contact entirely. Good luck with that. Kaeldra gestured at the security feed where Emma was now playing a game that involved the cubs gently tapping her hands with their claws. Emma Johnson's personnel file has been classified at the highest level. By tomorrow, every intelligence agency in 3 sectors will be trying to understand how she does it. And where is she right now? According to maintenance logs, unclogging a toilet in Sector 7. Down in the Academy's main training hall, Cadet Instructor Zilar was updating his curriculum. The new module appeared on every screen. Human Behavioral Observation and Analysis. Cadets, you will now complete mandatory coursework on human interaction protocols, he announced to his confused class. Apparently, humans approach problems from perspectives we haven't categorized. Understanding their methods is now considered critical tactical knowledge. A cadet raised a tentacle. Sir, I thought humans were just the maintenance species. So did we all, Cadet. So did we all. Across the station, requests were flooding in. The Telvarian Science Collective wanted human advisors for their xenobiology program. The Predator Containment Facility on Kepler Station requested human consultants. 3 different military branches submitted formal proposals for human recruitment. Emma's supervisor forwarded all of them to her datapad. Emma deleted them without reading and went back to restocking paper towels. The corridor chimed, announced a visitor. Emma turned to find Empress Sharkoth herself standing there, ducking through the doorway, carrying what looked like ceremonial wrapped packages. Emma Johnson. The Empress's translator carried formal weight. I bring traditional gifts of the Korvath, crystallized minerals from our homeworld, blessed by our eldest and... She hesitated. My profound gratitude. You treated my offspring with more wisdom than I have seen from species who claim expertise. Oh, that's really sweet, but honestly, they're great kids. Emma accepted the packages, which were surprisingly heavy. Just needed some structure. We worked out a schedule. They come visit me during my afternoon break. I bring them puzzles and games. Everybody's happy. The Empress tilted her massive head. You continue to spend time with them. Voluntarily. Well, yeah, they're fun. Emma smiled. Plus, they help me reach the high shelves sometimes. After the Empress left, still looking baffled, Emma packed up her cleaning cart and headed for the transport station. Her shift was over. Her co-worker, a young Saurian named Koresh, was waiting at the transit hub. Emma, I heard about the incident with the Cubs. Were you terrified? Terrified? Nah. Emma loaded her cart into the storage compartment. They were adorable, like puppies, but scalier. Koresh's scales paled. Those were the galaxy's most dangerous juvenile predators. They injured a security team. Yeah, but did you see their little faces when they get scratches? Emma pulled out her datapad, showing pictures she'd taken of the Cubs. Look at this one. His name's... Well, I can't pronounce his name, so I call him Bitey. He's the troublemaker. You named them? The Empress said it was okay. Emma pocketed her datapad. Anyway, just another weird Tuesday. You coming to game night this weekend? How do you consider preventing a diplomatic incident a weird Tuesday? Emma shrugged. I mean, compared to the time the Glorbian ambassador got stuck in the ventilation system, this was pretty straightforward. Koresh just stared as Emma boarded the transport, waving goodbye. In his office, Commander Zilax was filing his final report on the incident. His fingers hovered over the conclusion section for a long moment before he began typing, Assessment. Human abilities in interspecies behavioral management remain unexplained, but consistently effective. Standard protocols proved inadequate. Human intervention resolved crisis without casualties or diplomatic damage. Recommendation. Never underestimate human common sense. What appears obvious to humans often contradicts our most fundamental understanding of xenobiology, predator psychology, and threat assessment. Further recommendation. When humans say something is basic or common sense, assume we are missing critical perspective and adjust protocols accordingly. Addendum. Human Emma Johnson has declined all promotions and commendations. She prefers her current position. This somehow makes perfect sense for a human and no sense to anyone else. He filed the report and pulled up the security feeds one last time. Emma was on the transport, datapad out, apparently planning her weekend. Completely unaware that she'd prevented a galactic war, revolutionized xenobiological theory, and become the subject of emergency council sessions across 3 sectors. She was humming again. Still off key. Zelax added one final note to his personal log. The humans are going to change everything, and they won't even notice they're doing it. The transport carried Emma home through the station's twilight cycle, past windows showing the stars beyond. Just another shift completed. Just another weird day at work. Just another human being extraordinary while thinking they were completely ordinary. Somewhere in the diplomatic suite, 3 Koravath cubs were curled up around the stuffed toy Emma had given them, waiting for her next visit. And across the galaxy, in emergency sessions and classified briefings, thousands of beings were trying to understand what Emma Johnson had figured out in 10 minutes with nothing but patience, kindness, and what she insisted was literally just common sense. The galaxy would never be quite the same. Emma Johnson would probably just shrug about it,